We have another edition of Dugout Talk with the Downs Bros. This is my brother Tommy Downs. I am Tony Downs, and this is Price Hansen from USA Preps. How you
Preps in
doing, Price?
house.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. How are you guys doing?
Good, very
Awesome.
good. Okay,
Awesome.
so tonight we want to ask you some questions and ask a little bit about USA Preps and you. And so tell me a little bit about Price Hansen and USA Preps.
How far back do you want me to go?
Let's start with let's
Let's
start
start
with
with the
this.
dinosaurs. We don't want to go there. We want to go that far,
Yeah, I mean,
man.
you and I went to school with Jesus, but that's okay. So let's let's go back to when you actually, why you started, who you are, and then why did you start USA Preps, and then of course, what USA Preps is really about.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Well, first, Tony, Tommy, double D's. Thank you guys very much for having me on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, I just I think uh, it'll just start probably in the maybe around 2000, a little bit before that. Um, I was in the mortgage business, and people, used to joke with me and tell me that I, made more money than God and things like that, and that was their thing, but it was just never something that was satisfying to me.
Yeah.
Did it up through I think 2009, 2010, and um, even in the bad days, I did very well.
Yeah.
And I was searching something that I could be a little bit make me feel a little bit more whole, where I was doing something, that I really, was passionate about.
Yeah.
I got into running baseball showcases, not softball, but baseball. And
How did you get into doing that? I mean, because you and I chewed on the same dirt. I mean,
yeah,
we
so
talked about our backgrounds, but I mean, why baseball? Why college showcases?
sure, great question. So I was able to well, I guess it started out really with my son. That's really where it starts.
It does.
My oldest son was exceptional. He played at an extremely high level. And the teams we played against, he was very successful with. One day we got a phone call from a team and said, "Hey, no one's ever hit a ball that far off my pitcher before, and
Love it.
we need a pitcher just like your boy on our team." And we decided to go ahead and you know test the waters. And his local team that he played on would usually go three and out, and that was on Saturday. And then we would drive down to where the other team was playing. He would pitch
Yeah.
in the semifinal game and get him to ship, and somebody else would take over. That sort of developed from 10U, 11U, um, and now he's actually playing on a team that's number one or two ranked in the country. We really pushed forward with things, and I got involved with coaching. I'd been coaching before, but they asked me to go ahead and help out. So I started coaching, and uh, yeah, it was a great experience, a great time. But the truth is, I'm in the real estate business during all this, and just wasn't really feeling it. No matter how many people that I could see that I was helping, it just wasn't really the thing. And then I decided, okay, well, all these kids, the Bryce Harpers, the Christian Lopeses, the Daniel Camarinas, the Keaton Hernandez, my son, a bunch of others, that, Timmy Lopes, they are all, everybody's headed to high school now. So my son's headed to high school. So let's go ahead and change something up. So we changed it up, tried to run some baseball showcases. I had 22 people at my first showcase, and
Gotta crawl before you walk. Yeah.
I had one sign up for my second one, and I'm thinking, like, the amount of people that know me because of
Yeah.
the club team that I coached, in youth, like, how is this happening? But to be honest with you, the market share was just gobbled up by Perfect Game and
Sure.
whatever. I
Yeah.
apologize, but I don't remember the Under Armour one and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So one day I decided, hey, what the heck am I going to do? A couple people that worked for me said, you ever thought about softball? I'm like, I watch it all the time, but yeah, didn't have a daughter that played, none of that stuff. My daughter actually played baseball, and we decided to go to uh, I think, I think it was a PGF tournament. It's hard to remember because now this is 14 years ago,
Yeah, long time ago.
and I think it was a PGF tournament. And we went down there and we were just watching, and it was absolutely nuts because I would take out my radar gun and go ahead and I do it like this because I'm used to the pocket radar now, but
Yeah,
I actually
yeah,
had the real deal radar gun back
yeah.
in the
Old
day
school.
in its little briefcase. And I was blown away the amount of people that were coming up to me and, are you a recruiter? Are you the? I said, no, 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 no. We're just here hanging out. And I was pretty much just trying to evaluate talent on my
Yeah.
own. Um, I don't know, within a month, we had already decided or within probably a couple days, we decided to go ahead and put together our first event. Our first event, we had 77 players at it. It was at Long Beach State. Um, the athletic director at that current time, uh, uh, it was sort of she was super cool, but it was one of those things. I don't think they had ever had a camp like ours ran at their event because ours always includes college coaches.
Yeah.
It's not a bunch of club coaches or dads or moms or whatever running it. It's all about college coaches. And so we had to jump through a few hurdles. Obviously, those were accomplished. We showed up. The two people that I had working for me were the ones that were in charge of college coaches, and they said we got 24 college coaches coming. And I was like, cool.
Wow.
It's about 9 in the morning, and I'm asking, where are they? It starts at 10. And
Damn college coaches.
what's that?
Damn college coaches.
No, it had nothing to do with the college coaches. Trust me.
Oh,
I learned that out later.
I'm just ripping on Tommy. I'm just ripping
Yeah.
on Tommy.
Oh, no,
So
no, 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 I'm with you. But yeah, bottom line is we ended up with 5 college coaches there. And granted, it was on one softball field with 77 players. We actually orchestrated it pretty well, but in my opinion, it was one of the worst showcases ever in the history of showcases. Now that I've been doing this for 14 years,
yeah.
but it was crazy the amount of feedback that we got at that particular time that was phenomenal. And every one of the college coaches that showed up, whether it was San Diego State, San Bernardino, I mean, just I can, there's like 5 of them. Every one of them were the ones I talked to.
Nice.
Every single one of the other ones that showed up or that didn't show up were the people that these guys, said were coming. So bottom line is I thought it was the worst showcase ever. And we decided to put one more on, and we had 121 players. It was at USD. It was later that year, possibly November. I think it was November. And we had probably 30 something college coaches. It was one field. It was ran for 2 days. Everybody got to go ahead and, do their metrics. And then everybody got to go ahead and, play in a game and, or a couple games rather. And we had 30 something college coaches there. It was something that just ended up being phenomenal. A bunch of players ended up getting recruited from that. Later in the years, they come back to me and they're like thankful and grateful. It was really cool. Well, that was less than 200 players we had in our first year. And now we're, pretty much hitting like 15,000 each year.
So real
So
quick to go back
it's
to
been
that.
great.
That's awesome. So real quick, let's go back to that. With those numbers, were you the only? I mean, do you know on the West Coast anyway? Were you the only team or the only company doing that? These college showcases at the time, or were there other companies doing that?
Yeah, it was me. I was the one that started it. I was the one that got all of it going. Of course, there were colleges that ran their own stuff,
Yeah, yeah. That I
but
mean,
there was
forever,
nobody. There
right?
was nobody
Yeah.
around.
But we're
Since
talking one college. We're talking one college, not
yeah,
several. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I was the first kid on the block that started doing anything like this in softball. And it's funny because there's been, four Yahoos that have tried since. They've dumped 150 grand into it. A couple of them totally rooted in softball and know a bunch of people. They just don't realize, you can run a softball tournament and honestly you can, hire anybody to stand under a tent and say field three's over there. Get umpires to go ahead and run something. But as soon as you include college coaches, I am just telling you the amount of manpower is crazy that you have to have now. Then the expenses that you put out for the college coaches is absolutely crazy. And it's not like, oh, Tommy's getting, $10,000. No, it's just when you have 30 people showing up and you've got 25 club teams, you've got 30 college coaches, they can't find that anywhere else. That doesn't happen anywhere else. So at USA Preps, it does. But at the same time, these competitors or these people that tried to do what we were doing, they all lost money, filed BK. They're all out of business. And the most recent one was like 2 years ago. And
Well,
yeah,
I think it's important to talk about that. Just because I want to know. I mean, I didn't know that you were first in. I assumed it was because it was 15 years ago, and I remember when my kids were playing, they didn't have any of that. They had a perfect game, they had Junior Olympics and stuff like that, but there was no college coaches. All the college coaches were, if they were there, when they were there, you don't know, and they were popping in and popping out, and there was no talking to call. We just didn't know who was going to be there. You know
right.
what I mean? There was no conversation prior. So I think that's freaking awesome. And that's a big reason why we want to know about USA Preps and about Price Hansen, because I think that's important for people to understand, that this isn't just something that just start overnight. You took your licks and uh and created something that's huge. And Tommy and I are a big fan of your tournaments and seeing kids. And Tommy's recruited a ton of players. And
Well, that's what I was just gonna say, Tony. Is I've been going to his. I'll be on my 13th season now of working with Price on in these tournaments, and the big reason why I'm loyal to him, and the big reason why I go to his tournaments over others, is because it's about the college coaches. He's putting this out so we can recruit players, and he's making it about that. He's not making it about somebody trying to win a trophy. He's making it about college people getting recruited, and that for me, it's a big deal because that's why I'm going there. I'm going there to try to grab top athletes. And how about this? I get the opportunity to talk to them now. Maybe go, step on the field and talk to them. Places in tournaments I can't do that with, and
so
it's kind of
Tommy,
sometimes it's a
so
pain.
yeah, so Tommy, stop right there. So Price, Tommy and I were just talking about this the other night, and he made a good point. And so, when we were talking about you and your tournaments and stuff, and he's like, it's so funny because I've gone to some of these other ones. At one of USA Preps tournaments, I can get out there, I can walk on the field during this college showcase. I can pull one of these athletes aside and have a conversation with them, or I'm just on the field having a conversation. I can't do that with other camps. And I'll tell you a quick little story that
Tournaments,
I was
yeah.
out looking in Arizona at a tournament, and I was talking to a player, and they were the injury on the field, and I mean literally injury on the field. And so I said, "Hey, can you come out real quick?" And she's like, "Sure, let me ask my coach." And he said, "Okay, go out there real quick." So she came out. This is an assistant coach. Well, about 2 minutes into our conversation, the head coach comes running out and saying, "Get your ass back in the dugout." And I was like, "Excuse me, what?" So, and there was, I mean, still injured player on the field. So I let that happen or whatever after the game. He's like, "I apologize." I said, "No, no, no, no. I'll never, ever, ever go to one of your tournaments again. I'll never, ever talk to one of your players again just because of
Well,
that."
and
And
his reasoning was is they're trying to win a tournament. I'm like,
it's
well,
a,
we're trying to recruit a player.
yeah.
I mean, what do you really?
So again, I mean, we're giving you some kudos right now, but that's what so love about, your tournaments. And can you talk a little bit about that and why that's so important?
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to follow up with something. You know, uh, this is this is one of the many businesses that I've owned, had sold, whatever, right? Over the years. This is not something that I'm walking away from. This is something I love. It's an absolute passion. I talk to players from, you know, Florida to Maryland to Hawaii,
Why? Yeah.
along the West Coast. Like, I'm talking to parents, and it's crazy because no part of it feels like a job. It's an excitement. This is 14 years later, and I'm super passionate about it. When I first started this, I just want to tell you, for real, um, it would be Monday morning. I'm at work, and it's 6 o'clock in the morning. On Tuesday morning at about 8 o'clock, when everybody's walking in, I'm usually like this, and they're waking me up at my desk because I hadn't gone home.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as failure, right?
Yeah, agreed with
You
that.
say what you're going to do, and then you do that. And I think that's one of the biggest things that separates us from everybody is the day of the event. You can go ahead and see the 22 coaches, the 48 coaches, or the 75 coaches, whatever, that are on our website. And obviously, the bigger event, the lesser opportunity. But the bottom line is, if you go ahead and print out those 75 coaches, you're going to see probably 50 or 60 of them. Like, it's a gimme. Plus, you're going to see a bunch of others that didn't even register, to come.
Yeah.
But it's different with us than with others. We are the surefire guarantee to get seen. It's been this way for a long. I mean, it's been this way forever, right? Um, except for that first event.
Yeah, but you know what? Yeah, like I said, you got to crawl before you walk, right? And then you
Right.
start
No,
running,
but
sprinting.
being real, I had no idea. I was trusting two people that had been in the softball world already for 2 or 3 years, and I had no idea. Luckily, I made some phone calls to people that I knew because my son played at San Diego State. So I called the softball coach there. I called a few others, and luckily we were able to make it all work, right? But at the end of the day, we have been that consummate, like, it's just a guarantee. You can show up and you're not put on, going to a tournament with, you know, 300 teams or 500 teams, and you're put on a field that's, behind a church, in the middle of nowhere, or some other field where no one ever shows up, and all you did was, spend, 1,200 bucks, 1,400 bucks on a tournament. It's at the end of the day, we want to be able to provide the best experience possible. And it's our instructional events are the ones that you're talking about.
Yeah, and
And
I'd hold off on that. I have a question for you about that, okay?
yeah,
But I will say this, 14 years later, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of kids and parents, I'm sure, that are thanking you, and obviously they don't because you're not having that conversation with. But I'm telling you right now, you've changed a lot of lives, and I think that's what this is all about, and that's probably why the passion is so strong for you. But we see these other, like you had mentioned, just because they're registered doesn't mean that other college coaches that aren't showing up, because we see them walking around all the time that aren't on that registry, and we try to network as much as we can to talk to those other college coaches. You know what I mean? Because I'll be honest with you, Price. There's times where we see a player, like say we're not looking at their bases, but walked over to saw a team, and this girl is a stud, and so we're talking to other college coaches like, hey, are you looking for a third baseman? So we all talk, right? And I think that because you provide this platform for these players and parents and travel ball teams, things like this can happen, and that's
Absolutely.
huge.
Yeah.
well, I Tony, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that. And Tommy, for real, obviously, love the fact that you're always there. You're one of the first people to show up, one of the last people to leave. You're always out recruiting, looking for the best that you can find, whatever, because you've been with three different schools. It's like, which one's which.
Yeah.
And, meaning like which player is going to, fit. And at the end of the day, I'm appreciative of all the kind words. I have a great staff. One of the things about the people that work for me is, I mean, my web developer's been with me 14 years. Two of my salespeople have been with me for 12 to 13 years, and say 8 to 9 years. Another one has been with me full time for about two, but has been a friend of mine for years, before that. I can sort of go on and on. These people are also passionate about what they do.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest things that I look at when I'm going to hire somebody. you have to be passionate about helping people. If you're
Yeah.
passionate about helping people, then, let's do this.
Yeah.
And and luckily, it's been a lot of softball people. I've hired some other people that honestly off the street, they just love people. They want to help people. They don't know anything about softball, but they work for me for, 7, 8 years. They end up, because honestly, there's two of them that I'm thinking of that went off to different careers. One of them ended up being going off to be a bookkeeper and a CPA, and eventually CPA type of thing. But just it's about hiring good people that love people, want to help people, and just do the right thing.
Absolutely.
And that's what we try to do all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, it says a lot about you, right? Because it starts with the top down, obviously. And everybody's got to pull on the same rope together, right? It's a team effort. And I know that that's what you're saying to these guys, because it is a team effort. I mean, none of this is possible. You can't do it by yourself. There's no possible way. You can never sleep.
Yeah. A lot of
So
moving pieces.
yeah, no, so it's awesome. So hey, I'm gonna go right into a quick question, if you don't mind, Price.
Absolutely.
So when these travel ball teams sign up to play in one of your college showcases, how can they help themselves get discovered by college coaches? So obviously they're signing up for USA Preps, right? And they're trying to use this as a resource. So what are some of the golden nuggets that you have for these guys that besides a coach walking over the field and just happen to see them make a great play? What are some of the other things that can help themselves?
All right. So we've got a team. I'm just going to sort of go through the process real quick. So we've got a team. They registered for an event. They paid for it. They've got to go through, all the normal, process and, insurance and, rigmarole, just like they would anywhere else, making sure they have it and it's in place. One of the things about a good portion of my events, is, we set them up just like a college would be running them. It is literally, an instructional college event. And it's just about learning as much as you can constantly. That's why, coaches like could be in center field and talking to a player and saying, okay, so where's she set up in the box? Where's this next pitch going to go? Where should you be going? Where should you be looking the ball to be hit? All the way to talking with pitchers and catchers in between innings, batters going out to the plate. These are things that other people don't do. And I'll be honest with you, it's real simple. It's what you just said earlier. Everybody's trying to win a tournament. At the end of the day, I mean, I have club teams that I have under me. I don't want to say that I run because I don't really coach anymore. But I was talking with a parent today that I put this particular player on a different team in my org, because the team that I was going to sort of be working with was a 14U team that was going to be 16s. We just decided to move them up 1 year early. And I thought that it was best because of the caliber she plays at to play at a higher level. And she's telling me about, how horrible of a summer it was. And, it was just, she just really didn't have a whole lot of good stuff to say. And I said, well, how many Division I schools called your daughter September 1st, 2nd, and 3rd? And she was pausing for a second. I said, I think it was 7 or 8. Like, I said, how bad of a summer was it? And the whole point is trust me, it's always great to win every game and all that type of stuff. But literally, we go into everything to make sure that we're prepared. We educate the players. We teach them as much as we can, on and off the field to make sure that they're ready to be able to play at the next level. And then ultimately, it's all about getting scholarships because it's all about education. It's all about life. That's what it's all about for us. And, there's so many people that just go and say this. Just look at 14 years of a track record for me. Look at 14 years of a track record for the org. It's what we do. And unfortunately, because of that, I'm not too sure that we pull some teams our way. I
Well,
think that
and I agree with you on that. I mean, that's why you see other groups like PGF. They're just starting to slowly dwindle away, just because people are starting to understand that are all these coaches just going to watch this one tournament versus recruiting all summer and be able to be hands-on. And I understand that there's different levels and the communication and timing is way different. I get that. But it just gives more opportunities for people to connect.
Yeah, and I will tell you this, Price. And if this mom is listening to this one day, and I'll talk directly to her right now, there is not a recruiting tournament we have ever been at, of yours especially, where we've ever walked up to a dugout and the first thing out of our mouth was, "Hey, what was your win and loss record?" We don't care. Well, I don't care if you lost every freaking game. What I care about is, this athlete, how their character, their how they're going about the game. Are they a good teammate? How they taking instruction from their coach? How are they talking to their parents? There's so much that goes into that these parents really just don't understand. This
Well,
is
because we're buying the future of them, really, right? We're
well, you're
buying what
investing
we
in them
believe
for
they're going
sure.
to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So I understand that. And again, I'm glad that you were able to kind of bring that back and say, hey, listen, this is the benefit. This is why, you may have won a lot of games. You might have had maybe there was some issues with players on the team. Who cares in the summer? It doesn't matter. It's, who did you play in front of and who's now ringing down your doorbell? Because it doesn't happen all the time. It just doesn't. The stats are the 5% are getting recruited, the other 95% aren't. So they got to kind of help themselves, right? So this kind of leads me into my next question for you. And
If you don't mind, I want to say
no,
something.
please go ahead. No, absolutely.
So I just want to address this. Number one, there isn't one spot that's it's you can just go here and everything's going to be good.
Mhm.
My events, because I don't want to call them tournaments, right? We have, there could be, college camps, there could be showcase games, it could be instructional games. It could be a tournament where you're playing to win something. Um, uh, you know, I undoubtedly believe that especially for 95% of the softball players on the planet, my events are it, right? But I got to tell you, both PGF and Triple Crown have some really, really good events. I mean, it's, I'm not the only guy. I've traveled on the East Coast. I've traveled Colorado. I've traveled, obviously, we'll say Huntington Beach. Um, Triple Crown and PGF both have really good events. Of course, not every single one of their events is the event, right? PGF Nationals, Sparkler fireworks, whatever. There's Dawn Battles On. There's a couple others that are really, really good, solid events. So I don't ever want to shortchange them, but I do want to say that a lot of the um, things that I've noticed is more of just the recruiting calendar, the changes in especially Division One and when they're able to recruit and things like that. I think that has been something that has changed things tremendously because for real, there's two events we run during the 6 weeks. There's really 3 or 4 events we run during those 6 weeks, but there's only two that are like, yeah, you need to sign up and go in this, you know, and we've got a lot of good Division 1 schools, obviously Division 2, Division 3, NAIA, and community colleges, but at the end of the day, uh, there are other events that happen. It's just, man, that recruiting calendar, is tough on Division 1 schools to be
Sure
able to
is.
get to what they can get to. I'm
It
glad
is. And
I'm glad they added that fourth coach for some of these schools, but man, it can be a
yeah,
you know what.
yeah, no. And Price, and I obviously there's other entities out there and I know those tournaments and I understand how good they can be and what they can do. But to be honest with you, I'm not a D1 school, so it's just those are, in my opinion, some of those tournaments are the 5%ers. I mean, that's why a lot of those big schools go to those, right? But again, I'm not knocking them at all. They do have great tournaments. I just like the fact that I can connect more and have more time to
Hands
see
on.
athletes and work with them.
More
To me,
hands
that's,
on.
that's the bigger piece,
Yeah,
right?
and there's no question at all. At the same
Yeah,
time, for some of those bigger events,
yeah,
you've got, and I'm not talking about PGF Nationals because PGF Nationals will have college coaches everywhere. Like if you can go and play in PGF Nationals, like that's a thing, right?
Yeah.
And again, I'm in everything that I do in life, I always try to be that fair guy,
Yeah.
right? Um, and at the end of the day, there are events out there that are just phenomenal. But just like you're saying, depending on what field you're at what particular event, it could be you could see, nothing but there might be 100 Division I schools there over the course of the weekend and 5 Division II, and I'm talking combined Division II, Division III, NAI, JC, and and that's it. So there's other events that are out there. Obviously, mine is one of them. But I just think that what we provide, what we do, how what our customer service is like, how we cater to people, to be able to help them. It's all about helping them to be able to get recorded. But Tony, I just are recorded, um, um, uh, committed. Tony, go on to your question, buddy.
Oh no. Tommy,
Hey, by the way, why your question? Isn't my question?
Yeah, no,
Why am I getting cut off, man?
I'm gonna hand it over.
Why am I getting cut off?
You're kind of
I'm not getting cut off.
quiet. You're not saying anything tonight, so I'm just gonna
Oh, you were just talking. All right, let me ask my question, dang it.
All right,
Price,
go ahead. You
my
got
question.
one shot. You got
Here's my
one shot. You
first-
better not screw this up. Here we go.
All right, Price. So, what is the main feedback you get from all the college coaches and or travel ball coaches after your events? I mean, what do you think's the main feedback you get?
Without any question at all, it's something that is an absolute blessing, but sort of bothers me. The answer is this, man, that was one of the best events that I've ever been to. It's so great. Thank you so much for having me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there's always like maybe little things like, just talking about miscellaneous, stuff. I was going to say a different word. In that conversation. But this is one of the things. If we have 15,000 people running through the event in a year, I'm not even joking with you. We might have 2 to 3 complaints in an entire year.
Awesome.
And it's a blessing. It really is. I mean, for us to go from less than 200 to hovering around 15,000 the last 2 years, over the course of 14 years, it's just been like this.
Yeah.
It's been crazy. This particular fall, okay. I know you know this, Tony. Tommy might not, but I've been on this health journey because when I started in this business, I was about 210 pounds. And I was way more than that. I'm not going to say it out loud, but I was way, way,
You
way
don't need
more
to.
than that.
Yeah, I get it.
March 8th.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, time to change. So I dumped 80 pounds in
Wow.
between March 8th and Memorial weekend. So a little bit more than 2 months. It was just, or right around 2 months. It was just crazy. I was just on a mission. Well, when summer hit, now I'm on the road, right? We're in Washington, we're in Palmdale, we're in Vegas. Oh, wait a second. I also have 2 travel teams that I'm, helping with doing recruiting in my own org. So I'm also going, whether it's like they're in Colorado, they're in Huntington Beach, they're in, you name it, right? They're all over. And so I'm traveling around with them too. So literally almost every single weekend I'm gone doing stuff. Well, of course, what did I do? I gained some more weight back because I wasn't working out. Now we finish the summer and we start, and you're going to see how this circles back to really where I'm going with this. All of a sudden the summer was over and we're starting to market for events. Guys, we've never had this happen ever. It shows us, it shows you, shows everybody just how good our events are. And I can't tell you how blessed we are to be able to have the people put the trust in us to be able to make this happen. Our first 4 events of the fall are completely sold out. We literally have sold out stuff we've done double the amount of sales for our fall events than we ever have.
Wow.
It's just nuts.
Incredible.
And I
Awesome.
guarantee without any question, our Toys for Tots event and our Best of the Best best of the best, we're usually between 105 and like 205 teams. And there's no question at all that'll be sold out. We're in the mid hundreds already.
Yeah, I mean that's by far my favorite event. I call it the frenzy because it's just before the end of before high school starts and the end of everybody's senior year if there's anybody even left at that point. But it's
Yeah.
just I always find it to be a frenzy for me. I love it. I love that event.
Well, I appreciate that, but it's been a blessing. So what happened? I ended up putting like 30 pounds back on because the only thing we did is try to keep up with the demand.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a
Yeah.
lot more than just talking to somebody on the phone and signing them up. Again, we go above and beyond, what, other people do. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so business is phenomenal and business is great. My health is good,
Good.
but
That's what
it's one of
matters,
the,
right?
huh?
That matters the most, man.
Oh no, absolutely. And let me just tell you, I want to say this, and I'm at the gym and this guy named George. I'll
Hey,
never
George.
forget him forever. But his name's George, and he's probably 72, 73, I can't remember. And he is shredded, rocked up, the whole bit. And we're talking, and he's a 5 to 6 day a week guy in the gym. There's, he does his thing, that's his passion, etc. And we're BSing, and I had been there so much early on that when I'm going to check in and flash my card, they go, "Oh, it's okay. We already know who you are. You're good."
Yeah.
But they're checking my daughter's card or my best friend's card and things
Yeah.
like that, to make sure they're members, right?
Yeah.
Well, time has passed now. And of course, I'm doing the card thing and I'm going in and I'm upstairs and I'm seeing him and I'm telling him, hey, yeah, I just, I haven't been here for like a week and a half, worked out 2 days, took like 10 days off. And he's like, oh yeah, why? And I said, because I'm just trying to, keep my business going. Like it's crazy how things are right now. And he goes, oh, remember, you're the CEO of this too.
True. You don't have your life, you have nothing.
Yeah, no joke. That set in with me, and this was like a month ago. And I got to be honest with you, I was still trying to keep up, right? Now that we have 4 events sold out, we have 2 to worry about as far as sales and customer service and things of that nature, with the
Yeah.
exception of when these other 4 run. We have Washington playing pink running in a couple days now.
Yeah.
And bottom line is I hop on my mountain bike. I know this stuff you didn't even ask about, but I hop on my mountain bike and I ride 4.8 miles to the gym, work out for 30 to 45 minutes, depending on what I'm working on that day, get completely, pumped, exhausted, whatever, hop on my mountain bike and ride home. And in 3 days, might have been 4, but I think 3, I've dropped 10 already. So
Yeah.
Wow.
I know I can do it. I just got to get back to doing it.
Yeah, you look great. Price, you look great.
Have a system, man. Love it.
That gentleman is absolutely right. I mean, you and I have talked about this, but it's about at the end of the day, if you're not here on this planet anymore, what happens to your business, right? So definitely got to take care of yourself. And as you and I aren't 30 anymore, so it doesn't get any easier; it gets harder.
And I'm not
So,
either. Shit.
Hey, I'm a double nickel, guys. I'm older than all of you.
no, you're not. I'm 55, buddy. You and I are the same age.
Well, you look way better than I do.
Hey, I'm almost
I don't know
50.
about that.
I'm almost 50.
Tommy, you're not, man.
Tommy's like 32. Okay, come on, dude.
I
Yeah,
wish
you know,
I was 32.
hey, you know what's funny is one of his college coaches thought that he was older than me, and I was like, I love you. So,
That's a lie. That's a lie.
but anyway, hey, I got a quick question for you. This is something that I kind of told you to kind of hold off on, but what are some of the benefits of signing up for your camps versus your tournament? So we've been at your camps. We love the camps because we get to work hand in hand with these kids. They're listening to us or they're not listening to us, right? We know right away, hey, is this going to be a good fit or it's not going to be a good fit? So what are the benefits for these guys? So I mean, if you let's say you're a team, your first year team coming to USA Preps, and you have a camp and then the event, right? Do you suggest you do both or one or the other, or I mean, what are the benefits?
Yeah, no worries. So, coming from the baseball world, I was involved with my son, being at a bunch of baseball showcases, and I understood very quickly that at least 80% of the looks came because they saw him in the camp. not in the game. That brought them to the game.
Yeah.
I understood very quickly how important the camp, atmosphere was.
Yeah,
So that's
absolutely.
what made me include it when I started in the softball world, is I just knew automatically this has to happen.
Yeah.
So now we've got 40 coaches and we've got 150 players on 4, 5, 6 fields, whatever we break it up to, at one location. And, they're going through 3 different sessions. They're going through a meet and greet. And the amount of feedback, Tony, that I get from college coaches because of the camp is absolutely, crazy and amazing. Unfortunately, as soon as events are over with, I don't we get feedback, don't get me wrong, and it's always good. Because it really is pretty much almost always good. Um, but at the end of the day, uh the club coaches and parents and players, they don't really let us know that, oh, we got these scholarships or we got this or we got that from coming to your event. I usually hear it from the college coaches. Hey, just so
Well,
you know, hey, just so you know, we won conference last year for the first time in 23 years, and not all 9 of the players that were starters for me played. I found them at USA Preps. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. And obviously, I hear similar stories to that, right? We picked up 3, we got 5, we got 2. At the end of the day, when you've got hundreds of college coaches coming to the events, and even if every one of them got 3 to 4 players from my events over the course of a year, you're talking probably close to 1,000 players that got recruited. The camp is huge. The camp is enormous. Obviously, hopping from that going into play in a showcase, an instructional, or a tournament, after that, is icing on the cake. But when you perform at a camp, one of the excellent little extras you get is you get college coaches to show up to watch you, but they're there to see you. And if one of your teammates happens to do phenomenal, like that third baseman thing you were talking about earlier, Tommy, guess what? Now that player is getting recruited. So
yep.
that you yourself might not ever be thinking about that.
Yeah.
And I would say the majority of every single softball player that ever is coming to a camp is not coming to a camp to go, oh man, I hope I do really good so that they come to my game and watch and they can recruit other players, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
But I can't tell you how many times that has happened.
Yeah.
And with Tommy mentioning that type of thing earlier, he didn't mention that exact, but that type of thing, it happens a lot.
Yeah.
And the camp is huge.
No, okay, good. And Tommy and I will second that, because I'll tell you, I mean, something you and I've never talked about, but I cannot tell you how many times we have been at your camps, right? And we talked to an athlete, and then all of a sudden we saw them, in their second game or whatever, like say on Saturday or Sunday even, and they're struggling or something, and we've already had that little talk at the camp or whatever, so they're a little more comfortable with us. So we pull them aside and we're like, hey, this is what I want you to, foot down, hands back, blah blah blah, right? I cannot tell you how many times, Tommy, you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
When they walk up to us, and we could be talking to another college coach, they just walk up and interrupt us and like, coach, I went 3 for 4. I hit 2 bombs. I hit double, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that is freaking awesome. So they're taking that instruction, they're applying it, right? They're believing in us. And we hear that so much, it's just stupid, right? And that, Tommy and I sit back and we go, okay, that's awesome. First, they
Listen,
understand.
I'm going to say this right now. I just got to say, number one, sometimes people think that they're just going to get recruited to come to a camp. It doesn't always happen that way. There are definitely tons of players over the years that have come to one camp of mine and they've gotten recruited.
100%.
That's also because they're exceptional, like really, really, really exceptional. It sometimes also could be it was a career day for that player,
You never know.
and that particular coach liked that player, and hey, it works. But one of the things, the reason I'm interrupting you is because of exactly what you're talking about. They find out really quick that you guys get dressed the same way they do. You guys eat food just like they do.
Sure
They
do.
realize that college coaches are humans just like they are. They start to become more relaxed. And
Yeah.
I think that the more opportunities they have to be in, college camps or they're around college coaches that make them feel normal and comfortable. And I think, and I'm just saying I think, right? Because I haven't been to every one. I know you guys have been to a lot more, but I think that's one of the things that separates us from everybody is the vibe, right? That's the word of the last 5, 6, 7 years. The vibe at our events is just a lot more it's a comfortable thing. While it's intense during the training and learning and working out,
Sure.
there's no coach that is, stands over you and goes, I'm a college coach. Every one of the college coaches is they're completely seen as humans. They work with people. It's like a different thing. I don't know. You guys tell me.
Well, so I'll answer that too. And I'll let Tommy talk a little bit after about this, but that's what we're talking about when we're talking about USA Preps. When Tommy and I love to be able to walk on the field, pull kids off the field, and have that conversation with them. They listen to us, and sometimes we're just like, "Hey, come here, come here." They walk over and we're like, "Hey, try this," and they go and they apply it, and they're like, "Holy crap! This
Right?
I had huge success, right?" And we didn't talk to them, we didn't tell them give them our resume, we didn't do anything. We were just like, "Hey," I think they knew who we were, but I don't know exactly who we were. But it doesn't matter. They were listening to us and they went and applied it, and that right there for Tommy and I is huge because I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of these showcases we don't have that opportunity as college coaches, right? When we're out there talking to parents or we're talking to these athletes or whatever. So to be able to get comfortable, you're absolutely right about that because I know even at the meets when we're just meeting everybody and Tommy
Yeah,
and
the
I will
meet
have
and
a
greets is a big
huge
thing for me. I love
yeah,
it. I
we
love
have a
it.
huge all these kids are around us and and I'm looking at some of the college coaches and I'm like the reason why is because we're asking them questions. We're like, how are you not giving us questions right now? Like, I mean, we're like, come on, let's go, give it to us. And we're trying to just be normal people,
And
right?
educating them at the same time.
And
Because
educate them
again,
at the same time,
we're,
right? And
we're there
that's
for
what it's
everybody to
about.
get to the next level. I mean, that's what we want for people.
No, and let me just tell you, that's the absolute stuff that I love. Like I can't explain it enough. And I'm sorry because I'm drawing a blank. He was the assistant coach at University of Arizona for years. And we kept explaining to college coaches, this is years ago. And we kept explaining to college coaches that you need to get out, like don't just be on the dugouts on the side on the sides, talking to players, teaching them, saying stuff during a game. Do not be afraid to walk out into center field and stand there.
Absolutely.
Like the umpires are not going to say anything. They understand this is a fully instructional event. Go teach. He was the first person, again, this is like 10 years ago, but he was the first person to walk out to center field and start doing it. Once he did it, it sort of broke the, cracked the egg
Yeah.
and everybody started to go ahead and do it. And I'm thinking to myself, guys, like this is what it's about. It's just about educating, teaching them to be able to see that you're human. You see that they're human. You guys get to know each other. You only got a few minutes, but you know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like to a certain degree, it's like, it's just about making them better. And, just period. It's about making them better. And that when he went and did that, and I'm really sorry right now that I'm drawing a blank, right?
It's okay.
But boy, oh boy,
It
he
makes a
did that
difference.
and it opened the floodgates. Yeah. And
Yeah.
everybody and a lot of other people started doing it. And it was just something phenomenal. There's college coaches that would come to our events still, right? And they're like, wait, we're allowed to walk on the field? No, you're supposed to be on the field. You're not allowed to. That's what you're supposed to be doing because
Yeah.
we're just trying to teach players right now, like what to do, how to read things, what to do. It's all education.
Yeah.
We're not playing for a prize or we're not playing for any score. No one's trying to win. I mean, obviously everybody tries to win it you know what I'm saying? That
Sure.
happens no matter
Sure.
where you're at, but no, this is still part of the camp. You're trying to like show them it just picture a college camp. You're going through all the fundamental stuff, pitchers, catchers, infielders, outfielders. When you're done, you put together a game and then they play. It's the same thing. We just do it at a higher level. meaning like more
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing. And it turned out to be something that was great. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, Price, I mean, I have the next question, but you kind of just answered it. And my question is, what really sets your tournaments apart when it comes to logistical things of like the camps, the tournaments, and everything. And again, we just talked about it, and I kind of wanted to say that what you do for the meet and greet, I think, is kind of like the icebreaker to start into
It
the whole
is.
weekend.
It
And I
absolutely
really
is.
love it because for us, it's the educational piece and we kind of find out right away if who's really interested, and then they ask us questions. And they should be, I mean, they should be asking us questions, right? So for me, I think it's just a great way to go into the whole weekend and maybe meet somebody that wasn't on our radar, right?
No,
What's your thoughts about
absolutely.
that?
There's no question at all. That's one of the things that happens a lot at my events. Like I can't even tell you how many times a college coach in the last 14 years, and we'll say 200 events we've ran, that a college coach comes to me and goes, I've never heard of that team before, but I was over there watching, and man, they've got a great shortstop, or they have a great pitcher, they have a great catcher, outfielder, whatever it may be, right? Whatever position. And I've been following her. I'm really interested in her. How did you find this team? I'm like, I didn't find anybody. They found us. But that's how it works.
Yeah,
I understand. There's no question. Matter of fact, all of us, I guarantee, we all understand when you're a Power Five, especially a major Power Five. Like you're going where there's going to be, you know, 60 or 100 legit name teams, to go ahead and, be at that one location to watch those teams to find your next player. What they don't realize is almost every single one of those teams comes to my events. They just don't come to my events 5 times or 8 times a year. They come 2 times a year. Like, if there's 150 of, the best teams in the country, and it might not be all of them, but you know what I'm saying? Like you take the top 150, you've got 30 of them that come to these three, and you've got another 20 that come to these three, and you've got these 50 that maybe come to these two, and that type of thing. And what happens is there's a lot of club teams that no one ever heard of. But guess what? They've got one or two legit players on their team. They might not have 8 or 9 that top schools are looking for, or I don't care if it's Division 2, Division 3, NAI, that they just never seen these teams. They've never
yeah,
heard of these teams. And there's a lot of these teams that just pop up. Let's just be real. Like, it's somebody wasn't happy with wherever they were, so they went ahead and created their own, whatever name team, and they start going to travel ball events. But some of these teams have 1, 2, 3 really good players on their team that get college coaches' attention. Doesn't mean the other players on the team aren't good as well, or aren't okay, or can't play at the next level. But
yeah,
yeah, that happens a lot. And
yeah,
there's no question. It's we have tournaments that we might have 25 teams at. We have tournaments that we'll probably have 2 of them a year that we have 25 teams. We have, I don't know, 4 of them a year that we have 40 to 60 teams. We have 4 of them a year that have 80 to 120 teams. And then we have 2 of them a year that are 140 to 200 and something teams, right?
Yeah.
And it just, the bigger the event, the more of those stories that we hear.
Yeah.
It's,
Which is, it's very important for these kids because again, it's a platform for them to get out there and do their thing and hopefully, be found. So it kind of leads me into my next question for you is kind of a golden nugget. Tommy and I talk about this all the time, but how important is it for these players to reach out to the college coaches before they're going to be at your event?
Great question. And I'm going to follow it up. I'm going to answer the question in just a second, but I'm going to talk about something else first that actually is on the same topic. We have had multiple Power Five colleges hit us up and ask what teams are coming, sort of like what we just talked about.
Yeah.
And when they see 5 or 6 teams that they would be recruiting from and not 55, they go, you know what? Sometimes they'll send somebody, sometimes they won't. And so we decided to go ahead and put together a featured players page. So on the homepage of USA Preps is a featured players page. Only college coaches can see it, but every college coach wants to know what teams are coming. Well, just as we mentioned, there are players on teams that, are no-name teams, but they stand out. And so it's just an opportunity for those players to be able to provide their skills video, to be able to
Yeah.
show college coaches, hey, look, I'm here. And uh, you know, bottom line, every single one of these players needs to probably, and I'm not joking with you, I would say that they probably should start out by emailing 50 college coaches when they first start. Like cast a really wide net. They
100%.
might have they might have their 5 or 10 schools that they have most interest in, but you never know if those schools even have interest in you. Cast a
Right.
wide net, send 50 emails, make sure they're very personable. Gosh, please make sure they're very personable.
Right.
And I can't even tell you, I had a mom in my own organization about a week and a half ago email as if it's coming from her daughter to me and to my web developer. It was 100% from mom. I never even said nothing. It was just way too professional, way too, official, way too, you know what I'm saying? Like give me a break. Like there's no girls that are saying the stuff that you just said. There's
Oh,
no,
that's
there's
funny.
not one single one. And I've had some very, very mature, respectable, highly educated young women that have played for me in my org, and I've seen the emails they've written. Yeah, no, this came from a mom. This came from a mom that
Hey,
was
they got
25
they
or
got
50.
they have Chat GPT now. Come on.
Yeah. Oh no. Chat GBT couldn't even write this one. Okay. Yeah, this one was a little bit off the chain, but yeah, bottom line is they need to email an abundance of college coaches way outside of what they think. Look, when it comes to recruiting, I talk to players that are in Hawaii, right? And a matter of fact, all over the country, doesn't matter. I explained to them that realistically, there's 3, possibly 4 times throughout the 12 months of the year that you're going to travel when we're talking about college. You're leaving in August to head to school. You're coming back sometime in December, coming back home, going to school, um, again, sometime in January, and then coming back sometime in May or June. And, that's generalized, but that's pretty much right on.
Sure.
I said, and the reason I say 3 or 4 times is because there are a lot of players that stay on campus and stay at school during the holidays. So you're talking 3 times you're traveling. And yes, we're going to use Hawaii as an example. They're already traveling 5.5 hours, depending
Boy,
on
no
where they're coming
kidding.
to,
Yeah.
just to the mainland, right? And then maybe it's another 4 hours to Chicago. I'm just going to come up with, something like that, right? But again, it's 3 to 4 days out of their entire 365. The rest of the time they're planted, at school or at home. And it's one of those deals where I try to explain to them that let's just say it's a West Coast girl. I'll just say a California player. Well, I just want to play, close to home. I understand, and I want that dream to come true for you. No, for real, right? Again, we're all about the player. We want that dream to come true for him. But holy cow, let's say, and Tommy, I'm not trying to, throw you under the bus here, but
Throw them under the bus.
let's just say they're talking to Tommy and Tommy can offer 80% and they only have to come out of pocket $5,000. Again, I don't even know the numbers. I'm just saying, right? But in California, they can offer 5% and have to come out of pocket $25,000. Well, do you want to be in debt $20,000 or $100,000 when you're done? You know what I'm saying?
That's
It-
crazy.
it's-
Happens
It's
all the
crazy.
time. That might
It's
Never
happen.
say never say no till you have to.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So I believe contact as many as you can, cast an extremely wide net. You don't know who you might catch in the net that might respond back the next week or the next tournament, whatever it may be. Make sure you stay in contact with those coaches, but email them maybe another 25, and then at some point in time, and this is again, you got to understand, this should start really when you're a freshman. And
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, the reason I say it should start as a freshman, you're not getting recruited, but at least you start to get on people's,
Radar.
you start to recognize a
Yeah.
name. Even if you have a skills video that, isn't the greatest, you start to get, your name recognized. You become a sophomore, it starts to become a business. Like you've got to put that time in.
It's
Yeah.
Period.
branding.
You've
It's
got
branding. Yep. They got to
You
brand
definitely
it.
display yourself. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And then by the time you're a junior, you're all in. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
you're planning on playing in
You have
college,
to
you're
be.
all in.
You have to be. Yeah.
And even though they're planning on giving out 1,000 scholarships to every D1, player on every team and all that type of stuff, it isn't happening that way. The world thinks it is because that's what they read, but it isn't happening that way,
No. God, no.
And yeah, I know. And I'm just laughing. I'm just like, no, you're not. Yeah.
That's
Sorry.
funny.
Yeah.
So we have about 6 minutes left. Tommy,
Yeah.
one more question for Price real quick, and then we're gonna close it up.
I have two, but I mean, I guess I can shorten this
Tommy,
down to one. So, Price, what do you what's the future for USA Preps? What do you see happening in the future for you?
Well, we've growth is difficult for us, right? Um, uh, the reason growth is difficult for us, and I'm talking about, I should say not growth, expansion. Expansion is probably the word, right? As a matter of fact, it is the word. It's very difficult to be able to do in other places that isn't in our control, because again, we're not just running a tournament.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the dynamics is absolutely crazy. I know that you guys are college coaches. I love you guys. I'm not trying to, say anything negative, but as real as I can be, there's almost no profit margin in what we do. Like it's that simple. Like people get paid and everything's cool. And that's pretty
yeah,
much it. The amount of money that we put out to make sure that these players have the college coaches at the camp to be able to educate them and teach them. And then ultimately, day 2, day 4, whatever it may be, to come and watch them in games if it's, a recruiting event is,
Yeah.
is crazy, and so we're happy with how things are going. Matter of fact, we're ecstatic how things are going. The stuff Mike and Mike has been able to do, Amanda, John, I can keep going. Like at the end of the day, the crew has put stuff together this year that is in this fall, I should say, that's been completely nuts. And we've just grown so much. But the expansion into other states, we used to do stuff in Chicago, we used to do stuff in Utah, we used to do stuff in just other states. It's just really tough now. There's a lot of competitors that didn't have the same dates we had, and now they do. And then of course they've added additional dates. We understand what's going on. We're not idiots, but at the end of the day, we're just going to keep plugging away with what we're doing. We just focus on, it's just like in a game. We don't focus, when it comes to Preps Academy, we don't ever talk about who we're playing because we always know we're playing ourselves. That's
100%.
all we're doing is playing
Absolutely.
ourselves.
Without a
And
doubt.
so it's the exact same with USA Preps. I know that there are other organizations out there, too, that I talked about earlier that definitely do a great job and have some really good events. I know that I'm not the end all be all. I know that our events aren't the end all be all type of thing, right? Um, but I definitely know for what we do, there's nobody else like us in the country. Partially, and I'm being real, because we don't really make any money. The amount of money that we put out is crazy.
Yeah.
You know, we have a $40,000, hotel bill and a $30,000 college coach bill for like an average event. And you're
Yeah.
just sitting back going, there went 70 grand. These other people that are running tournaments, they don't have to pay that 70 G's.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
College
Well,
coaches show up or don't show up,
yeah, and I think that, that's absolutely kind of what separates you, Price, and
Yeah.
and and what and why Tommy and I like, especially Tommy and I, like going to your events because, like I said, because of all those, options we have to really be present on the field, to have conversations with these kids, before and after and during, and communication with your staff, the friendliness, the customer service, you're taking care of your college coaches. You really do. And I think that mom and dads don't understand that, but they wouldn't show up to those events and be regulars of your events, 13, 14 years, if you guys weren't taking care of them, right? And that's
100%.
important, right? Because they're not going to just show up, because it's not about the money. The college coaches aren't getting rich by coming out to your events. They're out there because you putting on an event, and you're putting out some athletes that are really going to benefit them. Tommy has literally, created two colleges, two teams, like brand new from scratch, and recruited from zero to something, and then done something with his teams. And a lot of these college coaches are the same way. They're going into they get hired, they go into their season, they have these kids that are currently there or whatever, and then they have to go out and recruit and start the whole process over again. So you're able to provide that for these college coaches, and I think that's huge for obviously for your college coaches, but also for the parents and the athletes, because again, it's resources. You're providing them resources and getting them to the next level.
Yeah.
So
I appreciate that. Thank you. I do.
no, absolutely. So I'm going to wrap it up. I think how you kind of took us out actually with that last piece there, Price, was freaking awesome. It's true. You are. I mean, we understand there's other companies out there and kind of doing that same thing, but we're talking to USA Preps and why you guys are so successful, and why you're helping so many kids be successful in getting their education. Because honestly, softball players a lot of them aren't playing professional baseball like baseball players are, right? And that 1%, they're getting their education, and they're getting doors open for them that never would have been possible hadn't they played their sport for so long, and actually going and showing up at your event. So I think that's awesome. Hats off to you, to your staff, and to what you guys do on a daily. And we're going to see you soon, Tommy.
Yeah, Price, love you, man. I think you're awesome. I'm, again, very loyal to you. I think you do a hell of a job. I love your events. I always recruit kids from your events, so it's a win-win. It's a win-win.
Yep.
Win.
We appreciate it, buddy. Thank you very much.
Man.
Guys, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it without a doubt. You guys ever need me back, let me know. And yeah, it's been great. Appreciate it without a doubt.
Absolutely. We'll be in touch.
We'll see you in about 3 weeks.
Yeah, we're going to see you in about 3 weeks or so.
Absolutely.
So we'll see you out there. We're definitely
hopefully I'll be skinnier.
Well, I don't care. You look great now. So
yeah, you look great, man.
I appreciate it, buddy. Have a great night. This is DugOut Talk with the Downs Bros. Thank you very much. We'll see you soon, buddy.
Guys.
Take care, Double D's.